Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be continuing to talk about cloud computing services on AWS. So today we're going to be taking a look at RDS, which is Amazon's Relational Database Service. So actually I'm on the page for like where they tell you about the database offerings they have. So they have not just relational database services. They have the graph database service. They got a key value in Amazon DynamoDB. They have uh, Amazon RDS, which is what we're going to be taking a look at today. You can take a look at some of these. They might fit your use case better. So yeah, definitely take a look. So we're actually going to be looking at using the free tier offering. So if you have a new account, if your account is not older than 1 year, so you're probably still eligible for the free tier. So we're just gonna look at the one for RDS, and we got 12 months free, 750 hours per month on these instances, and 20 gigabytes of storage. And you can take a look at the pricing model if you will. So let's actually go straight to the video today. Yeah, so I'm on the RDS console. So if you do RDS here to search for the service, you can actually click on it and it's going to lead you right back here. What you want to do is we want to go create a database, and we're going to select the standard create. You can use easy create, and it's going to pick out a lot of default options for you. But there is one option we need to change. So let's actually start here. We're going to select MySQL because it's just the most popular database. At least relational database. So we're gonna pick the free tier, and everything else mostly gonna stay the same. But here we can actually give a instance identifier. So we're gonna give it a database a name. So we're just gonna do database demo. We're gonna leave the username as admin. We're gonna give a password. Make sure you remember your password and confirm that password. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave everything else the same. This is a free tier offering, I believe, so it's gonna stay the same. If you want to actually directly create a EC2 instance to connect to your database, you can actually do it here, but we're not gonna do that today. What we want to do though is we want to make this database publicly accessible. So we need to check this yes option. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to connect to your database through the internet, through the public. So we're going to choose an existing security group, which is like a firewall on the instance level. So we know these databases are going to be running on EC2 instances, and having this security group is kind of like allowing you to, it allows you to select traffic that comes in and goes uh, out of your that EC2 instance that's running whatever resource. So everything else we can leave as the defaults, and that's it. It's that easy, guys. So if you're actually just trying to demo create a test database for a local project you're working on, and you don't want to actually go through the stress of installing your database and managing all that stuff, you can actually just, if you have an AWS account or you don't have one yet, you can actually create an account and just create these resources like in the cloud. So if we click on this, we're going to see some information already. So we have the VPC information. We selected the security group as well. So this is a default security group that is already that was already created as well in the VPC. So what we want to do now is we want to take a look at that VPC because there's something that's important that we need to know. So when we click on this VPC ID, we're going to see this is the default VPC, and we're going to see that it has a route table attached to it. A route table is pretty much determines what traffic comes in and out of the VPC. And if we look at it, it has two entries. It has one destination of 000, and that's it attaches the internet gateway. So this default VPC comes with the internet gateway, and that's how traffic goes to the internet and it comes through the internet. And the other one is local, which just connects every resource in this VPC to each other. So any resource in the VPC can communicate with each other. So that's one thing I wanted to show you here. The other thing I wanted to show is the security group. So we're going to go to security groups, and we see this default security group, and it's in that VPC, that default VPC as well. So this is the default security group. And if we actually look at the inbound rules, we're going to see we have only traffic in that same in the same security group actually, you know, can actually send traffic to each other. So the inbound traffic that can get to a resource in the security group is actually traffic from other resources within the security group. So we actually want to connect through the internet. So what we need to do is we need to add a rule that allows for that. And we want to connect through TCP, and we want to connect to port 3306, the port of our database, and we want to allow traffic from anywhere, right? You can actually make this more granular and select your own specific network, but to make this as simple as possible and not do any extra configurations that we don't need to, I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm just going to save this. So so now we've changed the security group to allow traffic coming in from the internet. So let's see how far we've gone with our database here. It's still creating. It's going to take it's going to take a while. In the meantime, what we could do is we could take a look at this documentation. So I work as a data engineer, and most of the time I spend actually reading documentation, how to connect to stuff, not just in the cloud, even the databases we manage. Like we also have to like read documentation. Like there's always stuff changing. There's always new features. So that's how you actually keep up to date. So people think a lot of time, you spend a lot of time as a software engineer, as a data engineer, just coding stuff out, and actually even when you code, most of the time you're reading documentation. So actually you get better by like the longer you actually work with a language or with a service or with a tool, because then you start to like remember stuff by default. So you don't actually memorize stuff at the start. You get the documentation, you save it somewhere, and then you actually use it. When you use it a lot, then you start to automatically remember stuff. And this just gives you information on how you connect to the database that you created. Um, we can scroll down and we can see some different scenarios on how to access the database, and we can connect a DB. You can connect to the DB instance with the EC2 instance in the same VPC, which is the easiest way to do it. So both the database and the EC2 instance are in the same VPC. It connects smoothly because all resources in the same VPC can connect to each other. We have the situation where you have a DB instance in one VPC and the EC2 instance in a different VPC, and you got to use some advanced features like like VPC peering. Then you have the option where you can access the DB instance through a client, which is the example we're going to show today. And then you have this last one where you connect through a private network. So let's see how our database is going. So looks like it's completed. So we can select that endpoint, and we just do MySQL, connecting with the MySQL client. So you might need to like Google how to connect to a database through MySQL client. So we're gonna do minus uppercase P, given the port. We're gonna give that username. Username was admin. I'm gonna give the password. I'm typing my password, and yeah. Yep, I kind of like one step ahead of myself. So I'm gonna type in the password, and we connect. So now we can show the databases that exist here. We can select the database to use. We use MySQL. We can show the tables. in the database. Let's describe one of the tables. So let's just do describe user. And we have some simple commands we can run in MySQL, like nothing fancy, just to show you that we actually have the connection and we can get information for that. So we can just exit here, go back, and it's that simple, guys. So if you have a use case where you need a database as quickly as possible, you can actually use this for your demos. Of course, security is not super tight on this database because I'm just demoing this. This is the easiest way to create a database for. This is mostly for like your dev workloads and stuff like that. But it's that easy. If you can actually configure this for production, you would add some extra security, create a unique VPC, and manage the traffic better that comes in and out of your database, and it's that simple. So let's just do some cleanup here. Go back here, select that database, and let's just actually delete that. We don't want to save the snapshot because it's just a demo database, and we don't need to save all that. We don't need to have any backups, so we're just going to follow the instructions here. We're going to acknowledge, then we're going to delete that. And while that's deleting, if you actually configured your default VPC, or if you created a new VPC to add access to give access to the database, you might want to also delete that configuration. So you can just delete that. You don't need it anymore, and just save it. It's just to leave everything as it was and not leave any loopholes in the future when you actually create some other resources. So that's the video, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe for more videos to come.